Hello everyone, it's your guy Paul Kenefego once again. This once again will always come once again. Today I'm very excited because I have my buddy AK for short. His name is Akindamola Akintola, a genius. The guy is a genius. AK, thank you for being on my show today.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me. It's a delight to be here. I love talking about creative talk. And I feel like I'm home because I'm surrounded with creative people. So yeah. Let's do it.
I'm not going to actually throw you a question. What I'm going to do today is to allow you express yourself when it comes to your journey, because I feel like a lot of people need to learn from your trajectory, the way you grew, and the system do not have so many people like you. How from you handle the camera before, you design before, now you're more of a writer, and a digital marketing expert.
Okay, I think I'm one of those people in communications that have a very, very interesting story. At the early stages of my experience, when I started out in communication, it was a story I used to like to tell a lot, and the reason is because it got people very, very fascinated. I don't think these days I don't like to talk about it for very personal reasons. But yeah, it's an interesting story. And that story is that I actually started my career. I went to school and I went to medical school, finished from medical school, I studied physiotherapy. And I practiced for about 2 years. And then I just decided I wanted to do something else with my life. It got boring for me. I don't know how many patients are you going to see? What difference are you going to make? I think those are some of the questions that I was asking myself at the time, and I just wanted to do something else. And so it was just like a default for me to kind of end up in communications, and the reason is because when I was in university, one of the things I used to do was design. I spent a lot of time doing design and writing, right? And so I just leveraged those skills and moved into not communications initially, marketing, below the line marketing. I worked with an agency as a senior creative, as brand assistant or something. It had a fancy name, but if we are being honest, I was a designer, right? I worked in the brand creative team, and we worked a lot of briefs, so it was interesting. I did good work. I'm proud of till today. For instance, when Maggie was launching Nigeria Pods, that was my baby at the time. I was working at the agency. I did all the creatives for their launching and everything. It was like a running joke at the time at work, where people would say that anytime I cook, I don't have to put Maggi in my food. Like all the Maggi I've worked on, it should be reflective for the rest of the year. I worked on McDowell, the Billboard campaign. I worked on Milo was doing RTD. I designed the in-store shelf. So today I still walk into stores that still have this in-store shelf. So it was really nice, It was nice, and looking back, I'm grateful for that experience. But it looked like I spent a lot of time doing that, but I didn't. It was just I worked in a very fast-paced place, and I spent 3 months and I left. And the reason why I left was because I was being stretched. I don't mind being stretched, but I was being stretched across several brands, across several industries. Like you're working on Muka foam right now, your boss is telling you, Milo. Like how do you go from, you're thinking Muka foam, and then how do you go from Muka foam and then you're thinking Guinness is having a retreat? It's crazy, and it kind of messes with your mind. It messes with the mind of a creative, because creatives like to see things through. From my experience, or that's the kind of creative I am. And so I left, when I left, I didn't have a job. I kind of freelanced for a bit. And the good thing for me at the time was that I didn't have a lot of bills. Like my father had not chased me out of the house. So I just went back to my father's house. There was free rent, free food. And so I could make do. I was really young, so. And I survived. I got gigs and stuff like that. But of course, you want to do more. And so there was this opportunity. I was playing with a number of opportunities at the time actually. But then I decided to go work for Ikeja Electric. And I think that was what I am always eternally grateful for, that decision, because that's what set me on the path that I'm on. It showed me a world of possibilities, I was playing with a number of organizations, startups. I had like 2 startups that were saying, come do stuff for us. And, KJ Electric it wasn't like a lot of money, but yeah, I mean, it's a big organization, so there's a lot of stability, and I chose that stability. And I'm grateful for it and it's not just the work that I did there. I remember when I joined, people were always ask me, why are you working out? I say, KJ Electric. They say, you're an engineer, how did you get to NEPA? People, and I think it's for the older generation. They don't really grasp the concept of of what organizations do. It's almost like as if in Milo, everybody just produces Milo. That's not what happens. There are finance guys there, there are microbiologists there, there are guys in supply chain, companies have like different departments, and stuff like that. We have the tendency to say, this is what I want and this is what I want to be. But it won't always work out. I think people should need to be malleable enough. You can't just decide, I want to be a lawyer, I want to practice criminal law. If it's not working out, I'm not saying abandon that dream, but you have to creatively think of other ways to achieve that dream. And so for me, it started with an idea. When I was in school, when I started doing design, I had these friends, right? And we just joke around and would say, even though my career, what I was studying was medic, so I already knew I was going in the medical direction. I had this friend, John J, that was his nickname, I'm used to, and he would say, if let's go make me no work for advertising, I never see him. You understand? And we just used to joke like that. Honestly, I thought it was a joke, but I ended up working in advertising. It's also that sometimes some of the things that we think we are saying, at the back of our mind, it kind of comes to the forefront later in life. And as far as that decision goes, I think it's people also play a very, very big influence on how kind of our life is. And so if you're working or moving with the right people, or certain kind of people, don't let me say right? It kind of just puts you in a situation. I always say that how I ended up in communications, one of the people that is responsible for it is a friend of mine. His name is Akindamola. He's the CEO of Number now. I used to say Yinka ruined my life because what Yinka did to me was he showed me a world of possibilities outside the medics. I'm in school, I'm in medical school, I'm reading, I'm killing myself, I just want to do this thing, and stuff like that. And then I met this guy, mechanical engineering student, and he doesn't even want to do mechanical engineering, he just wants to code. And that was his passion, he just wants to create solutions from code. And of course he needed a designer. And so I just kind of became friends with him. And then we had mutual friends. And then we started building products together and and I saw the possibility. We were making money. We were students. We worked on some maps. I was like, they just pay us. And I'm not talking of like small money, like good money, like big companies. Companies that are listed on the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Yeah. I'm like, okay, so Yinka, I always say Yinka ruined me. It ruined my idea of what I wanted for the future. And I'm grateful for it.
I know that for one, you almost interviewed me. I know you almost interviewed me early, like maybe 8-9 years ago. And we finally found ourselves in the same organization, which now made us become very good friends. One of the things I'd like you to do today or say today is, what are the things that creatives should avoid? What are the mistakes? And when you are down, when you have a downtime, creatively, what should you do? And when do you know, or how do you know when to switch? That's time where you need to just, change your thinking, change, what you're actually doing as at that moment. They say master of all trade or jack of all trade, master of none. I really want you to share. Thank you.
So I think for this question, I think there are 2 answers, right? And those answers kind of fan out into multiple answers. The first thing is you need to understand who a creative is, right? And I see, for somebody who's been in marketing, brand marketing, and been in advertising for a bit, one of the things that I feel that people just use loosely is the word, when you're describing a creative, say this person is a creative. You are not a creative if you cannot create. That's where it starts from. It's not about, I have I don't dance well, but in my head, I can picture myself dancing, but I don't dance well, so I'm not a dancer. It's the same thing with being a creative. If you cannot create, you are not a creative. There's no my mind, because of my mind, I'm a creative. I can think, create it. That's what makes you creative, in my opinion. If you cannot translate your ideas into, then you're not a creative. And so I think every creative should have that at the back of their mind, right? And that's what defines your ability to create, right? And it's not just like you're creating solutions. Sometimes you're creating for the sake of it, The world would not have missed it. Michael Jackson did not exist. He's one of the greatest creatives that ever lived, but he didn't solve any of the world problems, right? So don't think of it as like that's like a very, very capitalist definition, saying that, oh, I'm creative because I provide solutions to problems. No, creatives create regardless of whether problems exist or not. Do you understand? Like, if this Van Gogh never existed, the world would have been fine. He's one of the greatest painters of his generation, but creating, right? A creative first creates for themselves, and then all of that can become instrumental for businesses, for different purposes, for charity work, for actually saving the world, or for doing. But the creator first creates. So if you understand who a creative is, you're on the right path, right? And so you understand that you are a creative, right? And so from there, you can begin to build forward. And when you talk about, when do you know when, one of the things that creatives get sucked into is that you are fascinated. The real reason why you're creating is because you're fascinated with the idea of creating. You like playing God. That's what it is. Honestly, it's like you like creating your own universe. You like to play God, and that's why you're creating. And that's amazing, And so, but the tendency that you have is that you want to do it all. You want to be like the master of you want to master of whatever universe you're creating. You want to do it all, right? And that stretches you. You start out doing design, then you pick up photography, and then you pick up videography, and then now you're doing motion graphics, you're doing 3D animation, and you're doing so many things, right? And you never get to create a masterpiece. I mean, and that's not bad, because you can still, even if you don't create a masterpiece, you can be a master of pieces, whichever way, right? But then you can get stretched that you never really truly make an impact with what you're doing, right? And so you need to understand that, and it's not about, oh, this is what I'm best at. It's when you think it depends on who you are and what you want to achieve with your life. For some people, they want to make a name for themselves. For some people, they are fine with just creating and eating peace and curry, honestly. And depending on what decision you make with what you want to do. So if you want to make an impact, you look for that part of your creative being that has the highest potential for impact, right? So one of the things that is that I enjoy doing is writing. But people are no longer reading. I can't make an impact in writing if people are not reading. And so I got to think, I'm a creative person. How do I translate my writing into something that people, would enjoy? Maybe I've done TikToks, be like Mr. Bollen or like Ray, that kind of thing, stuff like that. So yeah, I think that's like those are two powerful ways to look at it. And about when you are, when you time to move, you just get fed up. As a creative, once you get bored, once it no longer inspires you, it's time to change. You move on to the next thing that inspires you. And you create the most impact from it. Okay, I think that's like one of the questions that a lot of people ask me. How did I get here? Giving all my trajectories. I think if you want to be intentional, the first thing you want to do is you want to write it down somewhere. And there's power in writing. There's power in writing and being accountable. If you have a mentor, have a mentor. Have a mentor. Have a mentor you can talk to. Somebody who can truly be yourself. There's power in it. There's power in that accountability, and it helps you get to where you're going faster. And it's not just that, because you're reporting yourself to this person, because this person has gone ahead of you, and this person can make calls that you cannot make for you, right? So know what you want to do, and don't do things that will take you away from that goal. What I mean is sometimes money can take you away. You just get one job, right? And that job, it's a routine job. It's not doing anything to advance your career, but you're just going to be making money from it. But like, you want to pay your rent, right? And so it's comfortable. You sit down in that comfort and you just never move forward. And so invest in yourself when you're young. Take courses you need to learn. When you need to learn stuff. Be a part of the community. There's power in being a part of the community. You hear things very, very quickly. You see opportunity very, very quickly. You meet people of like mind, right? And also, this one is a little different from the rest of the advices, is that be grateful for all the times that it did not work out. Like you need to be, because there's a way. I don't know. I don't want to bring all that into, but be grateful for it. The example I'll give is that I always say that myself and Prophet, we are like destiny friends. Like we were supposed to be friends. Like it was almost like it was designed. Like we were supposed to actually work together at the time when I worked at the Electric. Right? I was heading for a design person. And like he said, he did design and everything in his career. And when he says he did design, right, it's not like he did design. Like he was mad good. Like he'll be home. He's not going to tell you. And I saw his portfolio. I was like, oh my, that's higher than that. And I said, okay. I told my uppers. I said, look, this guy is good. Won't bring him in. Let's bring him in. And on the day of the interview, the organization kind of quit the interview. They said no, they are no more hiring. They put a freeze on hiring. And we never got to meet personally. And so many years down the line, several organizations later, I said, I know this name. Dude, you were the one that, and that kind of thing. And honestly, if it had worked out then, the prophet that we know today might not be the prophet. He would have, now he has done so much, with storytelling when it comes to photography and videography. And he might never have had that opportunity because we would have just been stuck in that endless cycle of creating materials for marketing. You understand that kind of thing? So be grateful for the news. They're unpleasant, but be grateful for the news. So all of that and all of this. I'm doing live for the first time. Like I don't know. I don't have all the answers. I'm doing live for the first time. I'm making my mistakes. I put out a post on Instagram sometimes and say, ask me, how do you know you're doing the right thing? Sometimes I just don't know. It just feels right. And sometimes it doesn't even feel right and it ends up being right. So I'm not going to sit here and this is not Twitter. I don't have do you, but there are sacrosanct things that you don't play with. You do things that advance your career. I've said no to money in my life, because it doesn't take me to where I'm going, that kind of thing. So don't get distracted by money. I know we live in a very capitalist world. Make money, but don't get distracted by it.